So what made you set up your own logistics business when you were 20 then?
I think I'm fundamentally unemployable. I'd had, after sort of college, other than your standard kind of retail jobs that you have to get some money together to go traveling or whatever, which I went and did. I had 2 jobs basically after that, and I worked for 6 months in a big company, Hamburg Countrywide, and put forward a really big proposal in terms of restructuring the company when they were asking for sort of information from a ground level team. And I don't think they expected a sort of, business plan for the future. And my line manager basically swiped it and presented it to the board. I thought, I don't like this. So I then got headhunted for a sales position. And it was like double the money and all the rest of it. And I only worked for them for 3 months and basically made a big investment on a car because they wanted me to be a nationwide sort of sales rep. And then they basically made me redundant quite shortly after, because I'd managed to achieve a year's worth of sales targets in 12 months and their production couldn't keep up with it. And I just thought, I never want to work for anyone again. And I haven't. And
what's the shape of the business today in terms of people, headcount, turnover, that sort of thing?
Oh, goodness. We're about 10 million revenues. We've just launched a network partnership scheme. So we've just started expanding our network. So we're expecting that to increase 3-fold within the next 12 to 18 months in terms of revenue numbers. So we've now got over 30 sites around the UK. Mm-hmm. We've got 2 home service centres, which are ours, i.e. the people that we kind of employ. And I think our headcount there is sort of like low 30s. But throughout the network now, oh, goodness. So if you're talking about probably 5 people per site and the couriers that are sort of aligned with that. So I'll let you do the maths back on that. Maybe 200 people within the organisation. Yeah. So that's sort of exciting. And, again, we started, being as a one-site sort of courier company, but it was only about 10 years ago when we started our scale journey, and we've scaled the business tenfold since then. Yeah. And we've just secured some finance and we intend to scale it tenfold again.
Fantastic. And you've gone down the franchise route, haven't you, to do that? Is that right?
No, we did. No, we did. We started off as franchise, but franchise starts with F for a reason. I would strongly advise that nobody does it. It was hellish. And so our network partnership is completely different. So yes, people have to pay a license to be able to subscribe to be a network partner. Mm-hmm. And then effectively speaking, they are granted a license to trade as Diamond Logistics in that area. So it's a network partnership now. Okay. But no, we tried franchising for a few years and it was horrendous. And our network partnership is very specifically sales and operations orientated. So you have to go out and sell locally and you have to be really good at operations. All the admin, the finance, the carrier negotiation, the IT and all the rest of it is what the network partnership provides you with. You must be able to sell and you must be able to operate locally.
And how has business been impacted over the last, or by the events of the last 12 months?
It's increased by 70%.
70%? Wow. That's in terms of sales turnover.
And in terms of network volume as well. So by the end of this year, we would have doubled the size of our network in 12 months.
Yeah.
We've had a step change in terms of, so we were already on a growth trajectory anyway, but we've stepped that up between 60 and 70%, and we think that's a permanent adjustment onwards.
Yeah. Because obviously more people are shopping online, etc.
Yeah.
And,
some of our clients have been. It's really, really interesting where our stuff is kind of positioned. A lot of it has been stuff which has been very orientated towards home enjoyment. And so again, if you want to back stuff for the future, so the big things that we've seen go through are health products, online gym, like weight gyms, paddle boards, sports equipment, healthcare, alcohol. We've got one of the only licensed sort of fulfillment houses. It's all the stuff that people have, particularly, and I think this year will be a boom for them as well. We saw one of our subscription box clients last year over double their revenues. We've had our fat stick boards, one of our clients down in Bournemouth, added 40% to their revenues in a year. So, again, we've been very much buoyed by their success as well.
So if you look back over 29 years, what's been the secret to your success in terms of getting your business to where you are now?
Tenacity.
Tenacity.
I'm such a Chumbawamba girl that there's no way that, I mean, I'm a girl and I'm in logistics. With all due respect, I've been screwed over more times than you've had hot dinners. And if I didn't have a real sort of, you get knocked down, you get up again, you're never going to keep me down sort of perspective, then I'd be buggered.
And just going back to the female thing, I mean, what advice would you give to, young women looking at a career in the logistics industry based on your
You are perfect for it. So logistics, it's such a there's so many aspects of logistics that are so suited to women. I just wish they knew more about being in logistics. So, it's incredibly multitasking, and women are very, very good at that. It's quite strategic as well as reactive. So there's planning involved, yet you still have to be able to kind of react. It's all about people, not about parcels. And that really sort of, leans itself to it. And in terms of parity, we're a 50-50% parity business, and we've actually got women in our business earning more than men. So, we literally, the board, all our managers, in fact, I think we're getting towards a majority of women rather than parity. So it's a great industry, and I think sometimes logistics is deemed as not sexy, but there's something very sexy about being involved in a growth business, which is actually dealing with really fun online brands, and it's all very customer centric, and it's really cool. So women are perfectly suited for logistics.
Totally agree. And
in my quote.
Absolutely. And what does leadership mean to you, or how what does good leadership mean to you?
I think the biggest journey I've been on in the last 29 years has been becoming a better leader. And there's no way I would have scaled my business tenfold in the last 10 years if I didn't look inward and take on board a lot of advice, coaching, and learning in order to evolve as that leader. Because ultimately speaking, one person can't drag a business to 100 million revenues. You have to build a really superb team. So I believe my biggest journey in the last 29 years is to become the very best leader I can. I was very pleased to win a Talent in Logistics award for leadership quite recently. And as I said, as a leader, you only stand on the shoulders of the people you've got. And you've got to make sure that you recruit really, really good people that aspire to the values of your business, give them all the right tools and resources that they need, and then leave them to it. And obviously you've got to have checks and balances and KPIs and performance criteria and all the rest of it. But you've got to trust, you've got to delegate properly, and you've got to be honest and authentic. And you have to be really true to those values and morals and lead based on that, lead authentically based on that.
What's been your most important decision in your business career?
God, which one? I'd go back to the values piece again, and I don't want to sound like it's twee sort of management really, but the biggest decision I've made is not to be greedy. So every time my little greedy monkey has had a bigger voice than my values monkey, I've made really bad decisions. So just don't listen to your greed monkey. Do things that are right. So don't be greedy and be really honest.
Yeah. Sorry, my printer. This is the joy. My son's isolating at the moment from school, so he's doing homeschool.
No, that's fine.
This is why the printer fires up every 20 minutes.
Listen, we've been dealing with homeschooling for the last set of however long. Do you know what I'd found out actually, and I felt terrible not having picked it up in the first 2 lockdowns. But when I was speaking to someone who works in my marketing team at the start of lockdown 3, she was explaining, how challenging it was because they only sort of like had one computer at home and it was like really old. I said, have your kids not got laptops? And I felt awful, of course, because in my map of the world, of course your kids have got laptops. Of course they're all going to be able to do this and all the rest of it. So we then did an audit of our 30 plus sort of employees and all the rest of it. And there were 6 children that had no access to the tech that they needed at home in order to homeschool sufficiently. And I was just going, oh, why didn't I pick this up beforehand? So, of course, we gave them 6 laptops and sorted them all out. And so then they could sort of like work from home. But yeah, I just, this whole concept is sort of.
So you gave your employees 6 laptops so their kids could use them to homeschool it?
We gave their kids 6 laptops.
You gave their kids 6 laptops? Oh, that's amazing.
Well, no, it's just right.
Yeah.
6 new laptops to us is what, $3,000 or whatever.
Yeah.
6 laptops to them means that they will be educated, and we got to contribute from that. So, and that's a nice thing,
Who has had the most profound impact on your career?
Let's say my parents. Let's make it equal. So my mum gave me the opportunity at 12 to earn a huge amount of commission selling clothes on a Saturday. And I'm pretty sure I pretty much out-earned what she earned all week by what I sold ladies on a Saturday. So my mum turned me into a saleswoman, and my dad always ran his own business. He was always as odd as I am. He's always very much been his own person. And whilst he only ran a small business, so it's sort of, like he had like a few consultants that were going and doing stuff, or he was a surveyor himself. He's always been the person that, when stuff is, I just talk to him about stuff. So what I learned actually as I scaled my business, that you can listen, but you don't necessarily have to take his advice, because of course he's clearly quite risk adverse, and if you've got a £10 million business, you have to be more adjusted for risk. But my parents really, the biggest source of inspiration for me is my parents, my mum and my dad. My mum, actually, age 74, is helping out with the vaccine rollout. She's, after 14 years retirement, and with a dodgy hip, she's out there 2 days a week helping old people, she says, get vaccinated. Sometimes I have to go, Mum, you're quite old now yourself,
Good honour. And how do you deal with the stress and pressure of running your own business? How do you cope with it all?
It's really, it's undeniably stressful. I'd say wine, cooking, and quite a lot of exercise. So I do probably 10 hours exercise a week. So that's quite a lot.
Fantastic. And finally, you mentioned you want the business, you're trying to grow the business tenfold again, in the next sort of however long. What's your vision for the business then, as part of that?
That at my exit, which will be in my early 50s, that I will hand it to a team that will be able to enable it to fulfill its global ambitions. So I would have done 30 plus years by then, and I think that's sufficient in any kind of career. And I want to do different stuff locally. I also, funnily enough, because I started my business and conceived my daughter in the same week, when my children were very, very small, I didn't have a huge amount of time with them. So I take a day a week now to look after my granddaughter, and it fills me with joy. So I want to pass my business on to the youngsters and go and look after a few youngsters. Hopefully there'll be number 2 by then as well.
Fantastic. Sounds good. Well, I've really enjoyed this. I think there's some great stuff there. Thanks, Kate.
Oh, thanks very much. Bye.